Beautiful. Okay, so now we are recording. We are not going to take quite as extensive notes so that we can participate a little bit more fully in the conversation. We still will have attendance, obviously, based on the people that are here. We intend for this meeting to go no longer than 2 hours. The notes of the last minute have been published in the Docs and Files section, and the recording is available. Are there any short announcements from outside of BCI that need to be made at this time?
I think, Ray, did you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, I'd like to perhaps lead a group that will be focused on recruiting for Basecamp. I don't think that's really become much of a mandate for each of the groups. And I wanted to bring it up here because this obviously cranks up the tension on that idea that we have to get in place our protocol for when newcomers come. So if I'm bringing in newcomers, we need to have it a tidy place for them to arrive. So this may be something that is worthy of discussion. And if anybody's interested in joining that kind of an initiative, we'll try to figure out the shape of it at some point. And it will have some overlap with the other thing I wanted to bring up, was the idea of a newsletter, which I've kind of done ad hoc newsletters in the past, mostly to draw attention to events that were coming up and to try to wake up some of the sleeping members of Basecamp by sending emails outside of the Basecamp structure, hopefully catching people that didn't realize that we got over 24 study groups now, and some people have been languishing on Basecamp for 2 years. I was one of them. I just realized I found an old email that I responded to Basecamp 2 years ago. So I have been a member and not a very active member until November. But so I can't get too critical when I was once one of the slumbering. This is also an opportunity for people to promote their projects, and not just within Basecamp, all the people that are in the HQ, but there's also a newsletter, the Climate Healers newsletter. Sailesh, are you still there? I was wondering if that's something that we do in conjunction. It's one newsletter, maybe with a Basecamp section, or it's a separate newsletter with Basecamp business that may not be of interest to people outside of in the broader Climate Healers kind of scope.
Sounds good to me.
So how many people have you got on the Climate Healers MailChimp?
MailChimp, I think we have about 1,500 people.
So it's a very broad in topic, and Basecamp stuff that probably won't be of interest to them. However, we should be advertising Basecamp and Vegan World 2026 and inviting people to join.
Right.
And that's also, I can be the conduit to transfer anything that anybody wants to express to the broader Climate Healers world via newsletter. So this is a new entity that will upgrade it from something that I just do off as a whim every once in a while. Because one of the other things that, and the reason why I came up was we all want to know what Sailesh is up to so that we can promote what events he's attending and attend them ourselves if we happen to be in his area. We're always interested.
All right, excellent, thank you. Okay, anyone else have a quick, Jamin?
Yep, just a quick announcement that Sailesh spoke at the last block party from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time, always Pacific time. And for the next 6 weeks consecutively, he'll be speaking at the block party Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time. And I want to make a request, whoever can put that up on Basecamp on the right place to please do so. And these are not just presentations, but great conversations that Pilot leads. So that's it.
Yeah, one caveat to that, Jamin. On Friday, I think it's the 13th of March, I'm going to be in Harvard. So I won't be able to do that on Friday the 13th.
Okay, let's make sure you get connected with Dr. Ye Tao while you're
Yeah, okay, good.
Very important. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in Harvard on the 12th and 13th, certainly.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So our next meeting will be next Tuesday, March 10th. Zoom information will be sent out and same time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We have a relatively short agenda in terms of the number of items, but they're both discussion items. So has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? All right, so are there any questions, reactions, additions to the agenda? Then I'd like to ask for consent to using this agenda. All right, thank you. So the first topic of discussion tonight is that we wanted to give people up to 5 minutes each to talk about what your vision is for Vegan World 2026 Collective Intelligence. What is this group? We seem to have gotten to the second time to a point where there's some confusion about what our future is and where it is that we're going and how to make that happen. And so we are actually doing, I think it's a little bit of an experiment in that we are asking everyone to share that. We are not going to make a decision tonight about what to do with that. And that might become much more obvious as we move through this, but I wanted to be certain that we understand that we're not at some point going to vote on a certain, thing that someone brought up or whatever. We're going to get all of it out. We're going to hear everybody's ideas about what this group is, what it could be, the who we are and what our work is question. And we're going to move through that in a round, meaning that I will ask a couple of people at a time so that people know who is coming up next, who will share this information. And Benjamin and Suzanne are going to time. So if while you're talking, you could look at Benjamin and Suzanne at some point, what is the symbol or how are you going to let people know that they're getting close to their time?
I could do a 4 minute and then a 5 minute.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yep, that will work. All right. And let's see, if you choose not to use your full time, you certainly don't have to. We'll simply move on. And you don't have to, you can pass. So this is not like you have to tell us what you think. You actually don't. And you can tell us what you think, what you feel, what you want, what you're hoping for, however it is that you want to phrase this. So I'm wondering if I can ask for someone to volunteer to start. And then I'm simply going to look on my screen and go in some order. Sometimes I go clockwise, sometimes counterclockwise. And I hope people stay in the position that they're in on my screen when we do that. Jamin, are you?
Just a super quick announcement. I want to welcome Adam Soul, who's a friend of mine and collaborator on the Sushin Club, who I don't know if he's been here before, but wanted to welcome him. He's here to learn and observe and et cetera. And Adam, if you want to say a couple of words, please do. Up to you, Ann.
Yeah, Adam, you're welcome to introduce yourself a bit further to everyone.
Okay, I'm Adam Soul, and I've got the website worldwithoutmoney.org, and I was talking to Jackie Solomon and Ray, and this is my first meeting here, and so I'm just kind of exploring and seeing what it's all about, and saying hi to everybody. So thanks.
All right, welcome, Adam. And I think you'll actually learn a fair amount tonight because we're each going to be sharing what our vision is for for this group, what we think this group could be. And Dharmendra, I see that you have joined. I can't see you. Are you planning to participate tonight? Oh, there you are.
I'm probably going to be mostly listening since I have to drive. So I'm just going to be like, you know, like I usually am. But anything that requires consent, I'm sure I'll probably be okay with. If I'm not, I'll pull over and make a point. But I doubt if there's anything I would disagree with that you guys do, because I love all of it.
Okay, so Dharmendra, I am not going to be calling on you as we go through this, but if you want to say something, please break in and let me know. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just respecting what you're doing.
Yes, no, that would be correct this evening. Thank you. So I'm going to remove my video and mute myself, but I will be listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ann.
Okay, so back to the item number 4 on the agenda, discussion about the past and future of VCI. And do I have a volunteer to start this process? Okay, Shankar, thank you so much.
Yeah,
All right.
I have little loud music around me, so if you hear a background, probably please enjoy. I'm sorry if it bothers. Yeah, so my neighbors are playing.
Okay.
Okay. I first of all, I heard the idea about the vegan collective intelligence from Jamin in October when I attended the Vegan World Conference from Sailesh Rao and everybody. So I enjoyed, and I definitely felt the purpose. So I'm convinced or sold from there itself. Then the meetings helped me to understand stage by stage. And I'm totally fine with a quick catering approach and also a long-term planning approach. I'm for both, and I'm definitely can take some benefit from the range in the middle somewhere. So I know I'm totally like the vision, mission, and everything, and especially the sociocracy part. Few things I don't want to answer today, and I know it's an answer is human generations are the answer. Some of them, the answer lies right there, and we just have to act. So, and some of them we have to understand, study, and some of them we have to consult. Definitely it's a combination. And I love the governance model, how things roll up, how things can be combined, how things can be seen from a different perspective, how things can be seen by not ignoring something, how things can take into a shape when you consider everything. So I really like that concept. And definitely this is going to, what do you call, make the intelligence only bigger, like how Jamin drew the diagram of the brain. It's going to add up, and it's going to adapt, and it's going to be very comprehensive to accommodate complex problems and solutions.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead with Ray next, and then let's go to Jamin.
VCI has struck me as the natural governance of what's going on in Basecamp, because one of the objectives of studying and having task forces is to come up with conclusions that can be shared with the world and collected. And so the collection of information makes it a natural clearinghouse for all the activities that are happening in Basecamp. And it's kind of a two-way street in the sense that some of the learnings from VCI, like installing governance models like sociocracy and nonviolent communication, those are things that we could share with each of the groups. So I think it's a happy medium of give and take.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Jamin?
Thank you. Very happy to go next. Anne, I'd like to request if you could please repeat the question or the framing of this just briefly.
Sure. This is a 5-minute period of time where we're asking everyone to share what their vision of VCI is, what their understanding of VCI is, what they thought it was in the beginning, what they think it's becoming, what its greatest potential could be. You are welcome to share thoughts, feelings, ideas, proposals. Answer the question, who are we and what is our work? It's really a pretty open kind of time here with a 5-minute limit.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ann. All right. So what I'm going to share is just very personal for me, and it may be in 80% of the people here may disagree. That's totally fine. I just want to make sure I'm being clear. This is just my personal vision. I'm not trying to speak for anyone else. And my vision is that I know a lot of other aspects are going to be touched upon, so I'm just going to focus on one, which is the integration of vegan collective intelligence with the greater collective intelligence that's focused on such different issues as solar radiation management, et cetera, et cetera. Part of what leads me to really deeply desire this is that the vegan community is so unique and so like pre-qualified, so far ahead in so many ways. The rest of the world needs us in many, many different ways. And so I would love to see for the Vegan World 2026 collective intelligence to, yes, continue to get our act together internally, et cetera, but also to be ambassadors to the rest of the world to say, hello, we are vegans. This is what we're doing in Vegan World 2026. And we'd love to participate with you all on this SRM thing. That's super cool. And we'd love to participate with you all on this, transforming living arrangements generally beyond food to how we live, where we live, et cetera, transforming the global economy, transforming governance, period. And let the vegan community become kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses of global transformation. I mean, we've got so much great stuff to share with the world and such a great model. I mean, I've been inviting other people to come here. Adam, so glad you're here. And let the rest of the world just see what a beautiful thing this whole vegan community is, both by going out into other communities, like at the block party. Thank you, Silas, and thanks everyone for participating. Shankar has been an incredible trooper, staying up all night with us. So reaching out to these other communities saying, yep, we're vegans and we're here to help here, there, and everywhere on the big, big mission of saving as much of life on Earth as possible, as well as, actively inviting others to come here and come hang with us. Even if you're not vegan, come hang with us, right? And learn about what we're doing. So that's the thing I wanted to add. I know there's a lot of other great things that are about it, so I'm not trying to talk about the whole vision from my perspective, but just really wanted to make a special plug for us being ambassadors to the rest of the world and working with others, strongly self-identifying as vegans and being part of Vegan World 2026 and the Vegan World Collective Intelligence, and just really mixing it up. The world needs us, and not just as vegans, but as who we are as a community. And we're like the nicest kids on the block who, everybody else should be wanting to come and play at our house and inviting us to play at their house, but they need to know that we're here. So we need to throw more of an open house, and we need to get out there and go to other people's houses and say, we're here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to ask Sylvie to go next, and then I'm going to take my turn as a member of the group, not as the facilitator. And then I want to move to Melissa, if we can go in that order. Oh, I can't. I'm about to mute because Sylvie's going to go. It's not going to work.
Right. So Jorge and I joined Basecamp and the Vegan World, I think in early December, if I'm not wrong. And like when I signed up for all the study groups, I realized, okay, I hope they're working on some tangible solutions, like a real concept or project. And then when I saw the Vegan Collective Intelligence group, I thought of it like also the way it is arranged in Basecamp, that they are kind of, I don't want to say the executive body, but in a way the umbrella or body that like collects all these study groups ideas and then synergizes them or makes them available and in a way that reaches other people, and that also, what Jamin just said, invites people that are maybe pre-vegans or not yet, like have other good ideas, no? Because we are, like if you only preach to the choir, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But then also when on the climate healers and on the Vegan World 2026, when I saw the 7 core shifts, I know I'm not yet there on the others, like on the, let's say on the blue side, on the good side. So like I think it needs also for us a lot of work of role modeling or demonstration or even learning together to go leave things behind and welcome something new and like really live it in this group or in this community, and also bring it probably to the other groups to, like, I don't know how well it is executed there. And also being, not only being a role model, but also being kind of what brings all the other groups together, not as a problem solver, but maybe as someone, as a group that gets them in touch, like the person that would maybe participate, or the people that would participate in this meeting as well from another study group, that they can hear other perspectives, because maybe we signed up for the economy, the new economy group, but we're not really well versed in nature stewardship or in permaculture. And then we get new aspects, like in permaculture, what Jorge always likes to say, you have the overlapping or the connecting edge, no, the edge effect. And I think that is like what we need more, like with non-vegans, with other groups of the Basecamp, and justice. And that I don't see it yet happening, in that we have a lot of these coming together. Of course, there are a lot of us that often participate in this meeting and that I see in other meetings as well. But there's not really an exchange of ideas too much. So what I see us doing in the future is that we have to set up, I don't want to say rules, but a set of cultural questions or culture, how we treat each other, and on what we concretely want to work on, and what is our goal, basically what we started with the sociocracy process. Because I haven't really figured it out for myself. What is our objective? What is the target? No, what we are working on, or what is the long-term goal, the shorter-term goal, and just hanging in a call, like a socializing call, that is nice, but I think I want to get something tangible done, because 2026 is coming very soon. Benjamin, am I overdoing my time? No, okay. Wonderful. So yeah, I need structure, and I think the sociocracy process started to provide that. But I'm also a bit impatient, so I know that this process is long, and I would rather get it done yesterday than tomorrow. But I know it's worth to invest this time to be more clear in the long run, and not just being one of those groups that emerges and then dies, or like, I don't know, like a lot of these vegan organizations that just want to have members. I don't want to have just more people in there. I want to have people that are more that are really committed. So yeah, that was a bit all over the place, but that's how I see it sometimes also.
All right, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to take my 5 minutes as a member, not as the facilitator of this group. And again, as Jamin said, these are my opinions and ideas. They do not represent the whole of anything except me. So when I first signed up, when I first met Jamin and talked to him, I did not go to the group meeting of VCI at the conference. I was in a different group, but I heard about the steering committee that was being formed, and I said, hey, I want to be on that. Please, here's my email. make sure that I get on that. And so that's how I started. I heard that it was a steering committee, and I know that this is not sexy or exciting. I see a steering committee as absolutely necessary and pretty boring. It's the group that provides the service and the structure to the whole. So I see, and there's different ways to think about this, and I'm definitely still learning about sociocracy, but that VCI is the hub, is the center, is the place where all of the other groups come into contact with each other and with the whole of Vegan World 2026. And in my opinion, the vision of this group is to provide support, service, and structure to the whole of Vegan World 2026. And that entails doing a whole bunch of things that just aren't, like I said, they're just not exciting or sexy. They're checking in with the other groups and making sure that there are 1 or 2 people that can come and give a short summary about the work that's been done. It's about putting together tools and resources that people can have access to, and that we've got some people that can help them figure out how to use them. It's about putting that master calendar together. It's about doing all of those things. So I see that as being the vision, to provide support and structure to the whole of Vegan World 2026. And the mission is to do that through a sociocratic process that we'll need to learn as we go, because there are only a few people that have really any experience. And I believe that we can get there slowly over time. I'm nervous that the vision, mission, aims, and culture process that we started is too much for us now. I don't think it's too much for us, but I think that we are all still getting to know each other, getting to know Basecamp, getting to know what an online think tank is, getting to know what Vegan World 2026 is. And I think it may have just been too deep and broad for this moment in time. And so it ended up, on the one hand, creating some confusion. On the other hand, those questions and the answers that have been collected so far are phenomenally interesting, and I think they will lead us somewhere. And I think that the current aims, if we're talking in that language, are those work groups, are putting that calendar together and pulling people from all of the other groups in, supporting Ray in there might be a major newsletter, but I think this group has a role to play in populating part of that newsletter with information from each of the groups. It's a very practical thing to me. It's a behind the scenes, an internal consulting role. I'm not sure all the different ways to articulate it, but it's a down and dirty, get your hands in there, get some work done. And sometimes there's also doing some other fun things, at the block party or in hosting some other sort of event. But most of the time it's about supporting the work of all of the other groups. So that's what I think, and that's where I would like to be spending my time, because I think that's where some of my skills are. I like to be the person in the back, but that is helping to move things in a whole bunch of different arenas forward, and making sure that those groups have what they need in order to be able to work well and to actually get things done. Okay, thank you. And I think that's, I think that sums up what I want to see for this group in the near future. All right, Melissa, I'm going back to being a facilitator. And Melissa, and then let's move to Silas and then Jorge.
Okay, thanks, Anne. Because my introduction to veganism comes through VCI and Jamin's trip to Arizona, I'm not really working with Basecamp so much. And that's given me a very particular view of VCI and what I see VCI's potential of becoming or expanding into, as well as what you're talking about, all of you, is like an ambassadorship that can go out into the world and introduce this compassionate way of being on the world to people who are not vegan. So I wasn't vegan until I met all you guys. I was vegetarian, right? So all of you and all these conversations have helped lead me into becoming, to living differently, although I've always been an advocate for protecting life on Earth. So I just take myself as an example to show you what the VCI platform could be for the greater world. So I echo a lot what Jamin said about, how VCI can connect with not just Basecamp and the groups within Basecamp, but other groups outside who are not vegan, because we really do need that leadership. And the vegan movement, if I can call you guys that, you're so compassionate and you're so dedicated. I don't think I've ever met a group so dedicated to a cause, to loving action forward and living it out in the world. And I believe this is that this can educate people and help people to transform. I also think that because we're all very diverse, and we have different ways, different gifts and different ways of working out in the world, that we have potentially within this group different vehicles for bringing people into this new way of, living on the planet. So as you know, my vehicle is art, and I'm an arts educator. So this is how I bring people into new stories, is by telling stories with the art or using art as an education tool. And so Sylvie and Jorge, with your beautiful edible gardens and in your beautiful forests, there are all these different ways that I would love to see those becoming more public and serving the greater good. And then I just want to add a little side note. So an individual like myself, you can imagine I have to create all this art. That's already a huge job. I have to write my own grants, find funding for it. There are all these things that happen which prevent me, for example, at the moment, from participating more fully on Basecamp to create an artful activist site. And it's just a question of time and hours, and how do I do that, and how do I diversify? I'm only just me. So I just wanted to put that out there just as a thought, because I don't have the answer to that one right now. As much as I'd like to get involved with the vegan VCI, I mean, not just VCI, but Basecamp and the whole vegan collective around using art as a form of advocacy. I just don't know how to do that yet, time-wise, given all the other stuff I'm doing. So yeah, so I'll end there. But I think that kind of summarizes my hopes and dreams for VCI. Thank you.
Thank you. Sailesh, are you ready to share your thoughts?
Yeah. I see VCI as, am I having any? I see VCI as a way to coordinate the work of all the other task forces and study groups within Vegan World 2026, identify gaps where we don't yet have enough resources, and then help the task forces achieve their objectives. Whatever resources they need, connect them with the right teams, the people who have the right expertise, so they can do their job as well. So I see it more as, in sociocracy, it is a place where all the circles meet. And and then go back and say, this is how we are going to do our job. So it is the circle of circles. And so that's my vision for it. And it also is the place where we discuss how are we going to interact with the outside world. So I had given the example of juror number 8 in 12 Angry Men as the example of how we should be interacting with the outside world, how we bring others in, not by being forceful, but by being welcoming of people. And so, because in that movie, there are a lot of instances of how persuasion happens, and I think it's a good way to model ourselves. I also see VCI as a place where we coordinate. Like I've been talking to this group at JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, on creating a model for the Aquarius economy, or the vegan world economy, to understand how we transition from where we are to where we need to be. And one of the ideas we are tossing around is coming up with a game, a multiplayer game that people can play that helps them understand how this could happen. So, and Carol was kind enough to show me this model called, this game called Coopoly, which is a cooperative version of Monopoly, where people are playing together to make a cooperative business thrive. That's the purpose of the game. So we are talking about turning that into a game. So the goal of the game there in Coopoly is to create the next business. So you start with one business, and using that, you have to create the second business. And so in JPL, because they are interested in space travel, I'm suggesting to them that it should be a game in which you help Earth thrive, in spite of whatever is going on. You help Earth thrive, and then you create a colony on Mars. So that's the objective of the game. And so we can get lots of people playing that game and understand how this transformation could happen. And in the process, I think we will also understand some of the mechanisms that we need to put in place for Aquarius. So, and for a game like that, you need input from lots of different people. You need, because I think of it as a game of education. It's really an educational game. So it's just, instead of trivial pursuit, it's a real pursuit. So where people are playing the game and they're answering questions and they're figuring out answers to how solving certain problems. And so we need these different study groups to come up with the questions for the game, to architect the game with us so that it becomes like a joint project. And I see VCI as a place where you would come and figure out how to do this, because you're getting input from lots of different study groups. So I see, it's more than a steering committee. It's a hub from which all these spokes are going out, and all these circles are coming into the same hub. So that's my vision for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Jorge, and then Nolan, I see you're back. And then we'll go to Benjamin and Suzanne.
Okay. So just appreciating the moment. I see this space. I'm not exactly VCI or the whole project of Vegan World 2026. I think I will go with the Vegan World 2026 space, like the whole space that Dr. Rao and his organization have made available is it opens an opportunity to empower ourselves, to be co-creators. And sociocracy is just a way that we can coordinate as co-creators. So out of the small step that we have done with sociocracy, I was expecting clarity. And for me so far, the clarity is not having clarity. And that is at the same time good to know where I'm standing, and also kind of like discouraging, because I see that despite the perception that we want to have about vegans, my perception is that we're not ahead of anybody at all. And that is hard to admit, but I think it makes sense. Like when I see so many questions coming up, and not only the questions, but starting to read the answers and see so many different approaches and expectations of what people joined for. And in this process, we are supposed to get all the voices and get clarity and finally come up with a concrete way to understand who we are and what is our work. Going to the basic of who we are, I don't know who we are in the sense of just passing list. I don't know who we are, how to work with people that come and go, that at some moments they will just show up and have their own expectations and not having structure to like onboarding or inboarding, like to get them in and welcome them. It creates a lot of uncertainty, and we're supposed to be the ones that give certainty to other circles. So it's a very weird space, and some people call it like being on a flight and trying to change the engine of the airplane at 30,000 feet. So how do we do that? Like, I see so much expectation of recruiting more people, but recruiting them into what exactly? And I also see like getting the groups going, but the groups like independent without having like this double link function of sociocracy of being in the circle that unites all circles and in their own subgroup. You know, like there needs to be a double link so people are in the intersection of these two circles. So for me, the clarity is this, and this has been evolving. Like, this is the second version that I see, and now I see that there's a third version. Like, it's being updated constantly, but for me, like, this is the direction. And as we can see, and I have been pointing this out, veganism is just one bullet point. So I'm even wondering, should we call it vegan world if vegan is only one bullet point out of everything that needs to be done? For me, it makes more sense to say 7-course shift world 2026 and vegan world 2026. That is my own perception of how I would get more clarity of what we need to consider our work. And yeah, I don't know if I have more time or not, but this for me is more appealing than just vegan world.
All right, thank you, Jorge. Hey, Nolan, are you Are you up for sharing?
Yeah. I guess I don't have a lot to say, and I'm feeling a little pressed because I got to run to get to work here. But I mean, so much good stuff has already been said. All that's really come to me is I would like to encourage everyone to be okay with slowing down, and Jamin and I have talked recently about really taking the time to make sure you're that you're doing the right thing, as opposed to doing things right and trying to make it super efficient and doing what you're supposed to do in this old paradigm way. That being said, I can appreciate the structures that have been introduced in this group, and I think the structures are totally necessary, but some flux between structured and free time, I think, is vital to get that kind of breathing rhythm going. I really liked how Silas put it with the circle of circles and the spokes. Yeah, and I guess I'll just close by saying I think everyone's doing an awesome job, and thank you guys for being here and in the other places you are doing the work you're doing. I gotta head out. I hope the rest of this meeting goes well. Love all of you guys. Take it easy. I'll see you all later.
Have a good evening, Nolan. And thank you. Kamaya, do you want to share a few words? No. Okay. All right. Adam, I know that this is, your first meeting here. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, it's very interesting, and I might be able to help somewhat. And I was just kind of looking around and trying to. I was on something and saw a bunch of different topics that you guys were working on, and one of them was the monetary system that you're talking about, and I've had a couple of suggestions that I might want to join that. So, but I couldn't find it again. And I was on Basecamp, and I'm not sure where that is. But somebody will send me a link or something. Right on. And so, but I did want to say that I'm not sure this is off topic, but I'll just be for a second here. So last night I was writing for my website, and I was writing about the story. Well, I call it the law of life. It's kind of the story of my story of how I see humanity coming about in life, and what happened with our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And so I'm telling the story, and then I get to the part where we're talking, I've got to tell people about how we're going to eat, and then I thought about the Bible, and I'm not religious or anything, but I thought about the Bible and how it says that. I think it's the first chapter of Genesis, verse 29. It says that, and that's actually the first commandment that God, or what they call her God, but says that, and the first thing that we learn in there is that it says that we're supposed to be vegetarians. I mean, because it says he gives every tree and leaf and green thing for people to eat. So I'm writing in here and I'm describing our ancestors, and I'm talking about what a wonderful life we had, and then I talk about how we started hunting and how we were hunting with respect. And then I thought about the vegan movement people, and I thought, well, how can you hunt with respect? I mean, how could you kill even a big animal? I mean, even if you were, how would you do that with respect? And I mean, whether you do it with respect or not, you're still killing the animal. And so it just kind of just created a conflict in me, and I had to stop. And so now I'm kind of rethinking it a little bit, because I don't know if I know our hunter-gatherers had the right mindset as far as the mindset that I think that we need. And but I don't think they were all 100% right. Maybe when they first started, when they were vegetarians, but I'm not sure when they started killing animals. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, because I don't know. I'm kind of stuck a little bit. I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. All right, and Benjamin and Suzanne, I thought it might be kind of nice to finish up with the two of you, and you can decide who goes first and second. You got to time each other. Yeah.
I think we can figure that out. I think I'm going first. Let's see. I have taken some words from what everybody has said tonight and kind of scribbled down something, but VCI to me at this point is, at this point, what my vision is to support, like you said, and support service and structure for all of Vegan World 2026. And we can call it whatever we need to. The general circle, I think, is what Sociocracy calls it. Not sure where I stand exactly with Sociocracy being the best tool for us to use. However, I really enjoy it, and maybe there's some kind of modifications we can make that would speed up the process, or make it more accessible for our group to use at this point. Or, I can see all sorts of ways of proceeding from here, whether it's continuing to discuss it in person, like on this Zoom meeting, trying to continue with our VMA process offline, and no matter how long it takes, we just keep going. And I know that everyone just keeps showing up, so I think that the energy is there, and I don't understand how such a complex problem could be solved without any type of structure, but I'm open to suggestions there. I see this as a long run type of implementation and experimentation. I think that it's important to figure out how to interact and accomplish things across such a large distance with so many people towards a shared goal. And so that part to me is incredibly fascinating and something that I want to be a part of. and I realize that doesn't really speak to exactly what VCI's vision is, but I understand that that's kind of one of the missions. And I also see that the aims of this group are I'm kind of going all over the place too, Sylvie. The aims being the work groups, the study groups as being, us as the hub, spokes go out to these work groups. We're trying to facilitate in whatever way we can the progress of each of these, subgroups. And in doing that, in starting to do that, we've realized there are all sorts of I'm going to run out of time too. There are all sorts of prerequisites, I think, that we've come to understand may be necessary for us to continue this work, such as onboarding, outreach. So my understanding, I guess, is not that we are going to be the ones going out and 1 minute, cool. We aren't going to be the ones going out and bringing people on board, but we could be the ones figuring out how, and then presenting that information to a task force, whose sole vision is to go out and bring people on board. And that can include outreach and ambassadorship too. I think that the question is more, how do we support the groups doing that type of work? That's kind of my understanding of what we could do to help the larger Vegan World 2026, and in helping coordinate in whatever way we can. And yeah, that's kind of all I got. Perfect time.
That's all you got. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start my time. Well, I've really enjoyed hearing everyone's thoughts and feelings on this. So I think my vision for VCI is also for it to be the circle of, I wrote it down. I'm taking more notes than I said that I would. So to be the circle of circles, and to support the goal that I think, it isn't just a vegan world, it is the 7 core shifts. And I guess I see maybe stages of development here. I think maybe like our midterm goal for me, my midterm goal for this group would be to be that circle of circles for the rest of the VCI groups. My long-term goal for this group would be to be the ambassadors to other collective intelligences. And I think my short-term goal for this group is to get clear on what happens when Adam comes to a meeting. Like, Adam, it's so awesome to have you here. And how do we include people? What happens when there are conflicts? Because I think a lot of us are aware that there are conflicts between vegans. So for me, that's like, we have to handle these things first, and then we can work on maybe being a bigger circle that does connect with other Vegan World 2026 circles, and then eventually move out even further. But I don't know how much it makes sense to go out far when we can't really define what we're doing here, or define how we want to bring people in here. And I'm gonna stop there.
Excellent. So at this moment, I just want to tell everyone how grateful I am that people on relatively short notice were willing to share what they think and feel and where they want to go with this. And at this point in our agenda, we are going to take a break and let that sit with us for the next 10 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what's the agenda for next week. What do we want to do? Where do we want to go from here? That may also include something about what we want to do between now and the next meeting, right? It's not necessarily that we have to wait for an entire week to do anything else. So if you can kind of just have that in the back of your mind while you get another glass of water or grab something to eat or whatever it is, and we'll come back and do another round. It will be a shorter round when we come back. And it looks to me like we are probably going to go over time by 5 to 10 minutes if everyone takes their full time. Yes, Suzanne?
Well, I was along those lines. I was going to propose a 5-minute break instead of a 10-minute break.
Sure. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. All right. Then we will do our best to end at the top of the hour, and we will take a 5-minute break. I forgot to plug in when I moved my computer, so I really have to go get a power source so that Sylvia and I can stay in this meeting. So if you guys can time it, we'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, thank you. The first thing we were going to do in this meeting was ask everyone to go get a piece of dark chocolate. And so Sylvie just pulled some out, and I took a bite, and this is 100%. Oh my God. No sugar. It's a bit intense. I'm just going to say. My husband just got, he's quite happy. It might be a little much for me. Anyway.
The Mexican chocolate? Is it the Mexican?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the food of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the grainy type of chocolate. In one region of Mexico, they have this kind of, as if there's sugar grains in there and cinnamon. But this one is from the Mayan goddess elixir, and they sell it at the organic market that we go to. And like I know the vendor, and I know that child labor involved or anything.
Oh.
But he has a child now, but I don't think it can work.
Got me a bar of that at the airport in Mexico. It was pretty good.
All right, and we digress a little bit. Oh, wow, here we go. Everybody's got it. Look at this. Beautiful.
Only 85%. Don't make fun of me. Can you even buy 100%? I think it's illegal in Canada.
Right, probably.
There we go.
All right. Okay, so getting back to the actual agenda, item number 6 is to have a discussion round on what we each propose to be on the agenda for next week's meeting. We're going to have 3 minutes each for this particular round. And you may also include things to happen between now and next week if there is something that pops up for you. And again, I'd like to start with someone who wants to volunteer to begin this. Is there anyone who? Okay, Jamin. All right, we will go Jamin, Ray, Sailesh. How's that? You're all on the right-hand side of my screen.
All righty. Thank you, Ann. Thanks, everybody. So what I'd propose to be on the agenda for next week is something kind of similar to what we're doing this week, but a little different in that maybe we start out with we have kind of like a conversation with shorter intervals, right? Maybe 2 minutes each, right? And then people get into a queue, and if you want to talk, you raise your hand, and it's okay to talk more than once, right? But at the end of your 2 minutes, that's the end, and then it goes to the next person in the queue. So my proposal is let's have a conversation where we go deeper into this and we talk about it. And I really like what Nolan said about kind of slowing down. And I think we just need to spend some of that time talking with each other as if in a group setting. You can imagine if we were all in a big circle in a room and we were all talking, one person at a time, it'd be fairly easy to manage. Here, and I've done this for years with the Solution Club, et cetera, where I'm the moderator and I literally keep track of people's time and all that. So similar to today, but have it be like a rolling thing where we just pass around the talking stick and talk, because it's like when I hear someone else say something, I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then I want to build off of that. So I think my big thesis here, what I'm proposing to everyone, is that we take some time and hang with each other, talk with each other, and just see where it goes. That's my proposal. I'd love way more of that in a way that can kind of spiral, right? And so that I get more than one opportunity to talk, et cetera, and others as well. So that's my big proposal, is that we just slow down and hang with each other, talk it through. Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going, right? Let's talk about it. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ray?
I just remembered in one of our questions in the VCI process proposal work group that Sylvie asked, what is the definition of vegan world? Why would we do 50%? Why not 100%? And I think that's a great question that is a good way of starting off, because since it's right there in our name, Vegan World 2026, what is a vegan world? We've talked a lot about the structure of all the chronology of answering the questions, but I think that's a great one to start with. I wrote a stream of consciousness answer that I know it went pages and pages, and I'm not sure if it made any sense or not, but I meant to go back and read it again, or to see if Sylvia had responded to it. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? I think I tagged you at the end, but it's, I think, a fascinating topic because it involves a lot of arguments about where veganism fits in the world, because not everybody's vegan, and not everybody can go vegan. Not everybody's at the front line of this movement. And I think we need to recognize that. And this is one way that we can engage a lot of people who have a lot of real specific objections to the words vegan world, implying 100% like to the bottom of the ocean, everybody's vegan, right?
Mm.
All right, thank you. Sailesh?
Yeah, good question, Ray. Actually, the reason I decided on 50%, I mean, I came up with that, so I have to explain to you why I did that. Is that if 50% of the people identify as vegan, to me, that's a vegan world. It's getting to making that the majority and the normal, as opposed to eating animals being the normal, which is what it is today. So anyway, that's my explanation. You can, and of course that means that, you know, once you get there, it is going to snowball into a completely vegan world very quickly. It's a little bit like, you know, I use the 12 Angry Men again as the example. You know, after juror number 8 convinces 5 others to join him, it's inevitable that the other 6 are going to join him. So it was 6-6 at that point. So you know which way it's going at that point. And one of the things I want to see discussed next meeting is authentication process, a process by which we authenticate someone who is coming into base camp and allow them to be part of the discussions, you know, in the sense, because right now we have people who are literally there's conflicts happening, and it's usually just a couple of people. And I know that this sort of issue has been dealt with in the past. For instance, Wikipedia has a way of dealing with it. And I'm sure it's not Jimmy Wales coming up and, you know, saying, you are good, you are bad. They have a process in place. So I want to go and study that and discuss that at the next meeting with all of you. First, I want to understand how Wikipedia does it, because they do have people coming in and trying to put, you know, bad things in Wikipedia, right? Which is untruth stuff in Wikipedia. And so they have a mechanism for getting that out, for weeding that out, so that the collective intelligence of Wikipedia is greater than the intelligence of each individual. So they have achieved that. So I want to go study that and come back and say, this is how they're doing it, and let's probably adopt something like that. So this way we are not sidetracked from our primary goals and primary objectives. Okay, because it is a world in which people are going to be fighting us. Because there are some people who don't want to see a vegan world happen. And so the fact that we have these conflicts now tells me that we are being taken seriously, which is good. And interestingly, both sides of the conflict have been telling me that the other one is a troll. So it's fascinating to watch the dynamics of this.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's, yeah, excellent. Okay, how about we do Benjamin and Suzanne next, and then Melissa?
Yeah. For next week's meeting, I definitely like the idea of talking about onboarding and how we handle the authentication process. I do like the idea of having more of a discussion, but I hesitate to fully commit to just discussion. I would hope that we could figure out a way to co-create something out of the discussion, or at least, and I'm unsure of how that happens. So maybe that could be part of the agenda, is figuring out, okay, if we are going to attempt to slow things down and just talk, how do we make a decision? How do we accomplish work? Do we create subgroups outside of this? And I guess yeah, this isn't the, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you forgot to
timing
forgot to time me. No worries. Yeah, that's all I have to say. You want to go through them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess along with my short-term, medium-term, long-term vision, I think short-term we have to talk about, sorry, can I rewind? I would like to talk about onboarding. I hadn't thought about it as an authentication process, but yeah, just the incorporating new voices and I do think our vision, I want to talk about that more, but in a way, like Benjamin said, in a way that kind of moves forward. I think it was great to have the open space to just talk today, and I don't know, Anne, or if anyone else has facilitation tools that can help us then bring that around to something at the end of our discussion. But yeah, I think onboarding, our vision, authentication. I'm wondering if we can pick, well, I don't know. I don't have a good proposal unfortunately, for exactly what to do for next week. But I think more discussion. I actually think if we're doing research on authentication or onboarding, maybe we can work on, identify 1 or 2 specific questions, like, Ray mentioned the 50% vegan one. And instead of having 30 questions open for answering in the next week, maybe we can just, actually write, whoever has time to write can write in the next week. And then we have a discussion on it too, but really narrow it down onto a couple of questions, maybe. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. How about if we go Melissa and then Shankar?
I find that a really hard question to answer because we started embarking on the sociocracy project. I'm going to call it a project. And we had all these questions that we answered and kind of was wondering to see where that would go. And I'm still wanting to kind of develop and understand the vision, mission, and aims of this group, and then see possibly how we as a group and also as individuals can contribute to that. And I think that needs more discussion. And I also liked what Nolan said about slowing down that process so that can kind of evolve organically. And I also think what Sailesh brought up about conflict resolution is really important, because we've also experienced some of this and it's very disconcerting, and I don't think we have the tools to handle it. And I think that we maybe should have those tools before we get too far down the road. So I'd love to work on that. And I also like Jamin's suggestion about having this kind of conversation in the round where maybe we could explore these issues. So it's not open-ended, but it's focused on these specific things that we all would like to address. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Shankar?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good sequence. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing like as a team members, everybody's different. Some of them are like a long-term focused. Some of them are even like or like what I can say is like more even ephemeral focused. Maybe we can give them a sense of accomplishment. Like, for example, we can ask them part of this meeting or anything in line to the core shift principles, like you can do some task outside and you can come and share. So something that they can align and they are seeing it. And they can come and share and as a sense of accomplishment, because some of them, maybe they hurt so much, they just want to do something. And if they feel like, oh no, I have to wait another 3 years or where it is going, that might change this thing. So some in the planning, yes, it works. It's a building bridge. It works very well. And you won't have the answer in 1 month. But if you work as a model, you see the outcome. So there is an answer. Some of them, it's like very ephemeral. It's hard to digest. So we are all like different animals in a sanctuary or in the forest. We need to be catered in a different way. So as a team, we can pack the agenda in such a way so that a person who is quick results or something they want to do today, they have their own sense of accomplishment and they share it, and that makes them keep moving and they are not getting distracted or in some other way. So that's one point. And the newcomers always, I would say, is like maybe we should keep it definitely part of agenda of when you watch a soap or something, they give you a quick preview of what happened all this past key incidents. At least even if you start, you would know, oh, this is something happened. So that's like a glimpse of, we can tell them. I know there are videos, there are agenda messages, but suddenly if I come there, everybody will be like, feel like lost. So maybe they can just say, hey, just this is what overall we did. Could be a 1 minute summary and refer like all these episodes happened in the past. I'm giving you a glimpse and we do it. We just have to, maybe we can explain even more in a more part of our agenda. So I think these are the 2 items comes to my mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Adam, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I like what Shankar said there about the 1-minute blog or something, but from newcomers, and a video actually. I would like to do that, just to explain where I'm coming from, and so everybody would know. And so, thank you. That's a good idea.
All right, thank you. Okay, how about if I go next and then Sylvie, and we'll finish up with Jorge. I have a whole bunch of ideas that are now floating through my head about all of this, and slowing down being one of them. But I also wonder, when I took the training on Theory U, we watched a movie together, and I cannot think, it was a golf movie, and I can't think of the name of it right now. That was 14 years ago, 13 years ago. Anyway, there were a set of facilitated questions after the movie. The movie was a golfing movie, but it was specifically about leadership. And so I'm kind of wondering if one of our meetings, we should not have the task to watch 12 Angry Men before the meeting, and then we have some questions specific. And I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how to suggest this, but that we put together a list of questions and either do a conversation like this, or we do a World Cafe, or we do something where we discuss the points that Silas has been talking about in that movie, because that may lead us to ideas about how to welcome people and how to do that. I certainly like the idea of figuring out an authentication process and having a place to look and find that. And whether we can do both of those things in one meeting or not, I am uncertain about that. I also think that at this, again, I think as a member of the group, at this moment in time, I'd like to take a shot at putting together a vision, mission, and aim statement that says, can we get through the next 6 months with this and come back to the longer process and not lose any of those questions? Because I think while it may feel a little confusing or cumbersome, I think those questions and the answers to those questions are going to teach us a lot. And I don't want to throw them out. And I think that they're just a little too much for us at this moment. So to do the good enough for now and safe enough to try idea. And that another thing that I read about sociocracy is you start small, you start with something, and then you add things as you need them. And so we try, those of us who are into reading and researching, online, or the people who have had experience before, we start to bring in every meeting another practice, another thing about sociocracy. Okay, and I'm out of time. Thank you very much. And Sophie, do you want to go?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Good enough for now, safe enough to try. Because my initial thought was, everything I heard before from all of you was evolving around, we need to define our vision, who we are and why we're here, and the culture, like the conflict resolution and how do we welcome newcomers. But for that, again, we need to know who we are and what we do. No, of course, we can tell the newcomers for now, we're in this process, so don't get discouraged if it's a bit slowly and we're still trying to figure out what we're doing here. But I wanted it we need to answer all of these questions. We already have so many answers. We need to work first maybe on the culture, because conflict resolution is a biggie, because we might lose members or we might not attract new members. But we also need to know how we handle new people that come and join, like Adam, and that he doesn't get they're so lost. And then also, but who are we? Is it really important to discuss whether it's 50 or 100% that needs to be vegan in the world? Is that even the topic? Is that really what we need to turn everyone in? What do we define vegan as? What is a vegan world? Is it only what we're eating and what we're wearing? Or is it much more like the things in the 7 core shifts? And like how can we incorporate them? How can we make sure they're part of our culture and part of how we behave in the meetings, how we resolve conflicts, because we're clearly not yet there. So I think by slowing down and maybe like from the answers we have in the visions right now to define like prematurely, let's say, who we are. We're not saying what we all address and what our missions is. That is maybe first for me as a priority, and also the culture. But I think it's too much to work on all of this in in the next meeting, because we see how long like sharing each of our ideas takes. And if we want to have a dialogue, it will take even more time. So I think like maybe addressing one question at a time, and then coming up next time maybe with a vision, and then the meeting after with the culture, or with a mission, maybe with the culture. And I'm also out of time, but I think that's what I wanted to say.
All right, Jorge.
The conflicts that we see is because of the lack of clarity of a vision. Like as soon as we know what our work is to co-create that vision, we won't get distracted. And that vision needs to be not just like put into a paragraph and let it sit in a book. It needs to be lived, breath, like be in it and hold it together by a core group of committed people that can see it so clearly that there is no doubt that it's possible. And this, for me, again, like this needs to be seen, because we're not seeing it. We see it as the heart of not only Vegan World 2026, it's in the Prevent Year Zero, it is a part of the Climate Healers, like, and we're not seeing it. Most people don't know about this, even though Dr. Rao puts it in his webinars. Like, we are having a problem to decodify what that means and where we are there. Like, this is so common. They show you something that we can dare to call the truth, the path, the direction, and people don't see it, even if it's in front of their own eyes. Why does that happen? Because we are in a matrix that is a patrix, or whatever you want to call it, that is fed upon our thought that is the way things are. And that prevents us to see this. And you can put it like in a post-it with a hanger here, and people can just bump into a wall, and they still don't see this. So for me, is this. I'm gonna put this into the chat box. The Worldwide Community Food Forest Network overview, it is the 7 core shifts put into action. It's not about planting trees and having food, no. In other words, it's awareness-based system change through awareness-based collective action. So I'm proposing to watch this film that we put together. It's a short video, it's a mosaic of so many projects that already exist. So we need to see this into action. So my proposal is to watch this 30-minute video and to understand not only concepts, but how to apply it. And this might be one way, but there's so many others to apply these 7 core shifts into this Worldwide Community Food Forest Network includes economy shift, includes everything that is listed here. And I was going to propose also a role play, to get people on board on the Vegan World 2026 ship and to play along that, like getting people like, hey, come on board, come on board. And they would say, where are we going? To Vegan World 2026. And where is that? We're already there. Like it's going to be here. But I just came from Time the Ship, right? So can you hand me a brochure to see the photos of how does the Vegan World destination is? Do we have that? Like we have an image? Do we have like a vision, like something that says, hey, come on, it's going to be fun, it's going to be equal, it's going to, some kind of role play to get out of our mind. Okay, I'm done? I'm done? Yes, okay, thank you.
2 minutes.
All right.
You're on a roll there, so it's hard to stop somebody in the middle of a thought, you know.
All right. So we have a number of different proposals. So thus far, generally speaking, Suzanne and Benjamin and I have met to talk about what's actually going to go on the next agenda. I'm wondering if you all are okay with us taking all of this and figuring it out and getting something back to you by Friday. So everybody was here can take a look at it and say, yes, obviously we cannot do all of the things we just heard in one meeting. Not going to happen. Or is there someone who wants to take that task on to come up with that? Someone else who wants to take that task on for next week's meeting?
I would like to suggest that everything that we spoke can go into our Basecamp subgroup of the working proposal. Each one, like this is part of like empowering ourselves. Like instead of delegating to someone, everything that we spoke that is so much, put it into like a short paragraph to say, I want this in the agenda, boom. And if it requires a pre-action meeting, state it. Like, for example, in my case, is like my pre-action meeting suggestion is like, if you find the time to watch this 30-minute video, watch it. And then cross check it with this. So that would be like a way to not overload one person or a team.
So everyone take the idea that they have for the agenda for next week and put it into the message board of the VCI process proposal group. And we'll see what gets put in. And we do need to have a timeline for that because we need to be able to actually put an agenda together and get it out. So I would prefer to say, I mean, today's Tuesday. I mean, if we said by, I don't know, noon on Friday, Pacific time, that's 3 p.m. my time. So if I'm going to be the final one who puts it together, I would have some time to do that. And if it's still very confusing, then I also have time to reach out to some people and have some conversation. So type your idea in if you want it to be absolutely considered for next week's meeting. And if there's a pre-thing, put that in as well. And we'll take a look at that noon Pacific time on Friday, 3 p.m. And of course you can do it well before that. I like that a lot. I think that is a very helpful way to be able to put this together. Okay, it is 3 minutes after the hour.
I don't know if everyone here is on that process proposal study group, or does it make sense to do it on the main VCI one or on the process proposal one?
Oh, I guess I'm not totally, yeah, I said the process proposal work group because that's the group that's been working on the VM, yeah, VMANC.
So keep it there.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. What do other people think? Does it make a lot of difference? I mean, I'm not sure. I think the only person that might not be there is Adam.
Jamin, are you on that group? I'm not sure Jamin's on that one, is he? Jamin?
I think I am, but I'm not sure.
We can add you or do it in the VCI group. It does seem like something that could benefit from being in the main group, but I honestly don't know.
By main group, do you mean the base camp?
So there's the main Vegan World
Headquarters.
2026 headquarters. Then there's the VCI subgroup, which is what we're meeting about right here. Then there's a work group that's within this group that we were talking about putting it in. But I think it makes more sense to just put it in our VCI group, so everybody can see
My
it.
only concern about that is that if it goes out to a whole bunch of people who weren't at this meeting,
Oh yeah.
and then they start adding things like I mean, this goes back to the authentication and how we're going to do things.
Yeah.
Well,
But there are still
I just added Adam and Jamin to that group, to the
Cool.
VCI process proposal work.
I mean, there are still more people on that group than are actually here.
Yeah, we could
tonight,
make it a
so.
requirement to watch the meeting recording so they know what's going on, no? Like that they free to answering anything or just
Or adding anything into the.
or sometimes it's like some people just like we had this conflict already or like a drama already, so it's not just a verbal vomiting, it's really like you have to be aware of what happened before and in that meeting, and really only put something in if you mean it. It's not to discuss your personal problems or with someone else. So yeah, or that you get offended by what one of us said in that meeting.
So again, in the good enough for now and safe enough to try, I would strongly like to suggest let's stick it in the process proposal work group of VCI for this week, and we'll figure out as we talk about the authentication process, which is bubbling in my mind, again, bubbling to the surface, and the conflict resolution process bubbling to the surface, that we put it there, and we'll have this conversation again until we find a better answer. All right. Thank you to everyone. I'd like to have a quick check out for anyone who would like to participate. And I'm going to start on the upper left of my screen this time. That's Jorge, Sylvie, myself, Jamin, Benjamin, Suzanne, Sailesh, Melissa, Ray, Adam, Shankar. I'll say that again, but we'll go Jorge, Sylvie, and me is the way we're going to start.
Okay, for a quick checkout, this meeting was so transformational. Like, I'm in another space right now because I started like coming from just waking up, and now I really feel awakened again. And thank you so much, even though I didn't have 100% dark chocolate.
There's more in at home. Okay, for me, it also feels like I'm feeling more relieved or more relaxed because I feel it was a much more authentic meeting. It wasn't like that we needed to tippy-toe or like not being honest with each other. Everyone could share his opinion without being interrupted or without taking things personally. So I think from here, it's a good start to go and move forward and wherever that forward will lead us.
And I'm hopeful and grateful, and hopeful again. Like there's a path forward here. So thank you, Jamin, and then Benjamin and Suzanne.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm also tired. Started this meeting after a 4-hour sprint with the Solution Club that was just awesome, and feeling a bit tired and also very helpful and just really grateful that I can be tired and still be here because I feel so well held by all of you. So thank you.
Benjamin and Suzanne?
I also feel more relaxed, and I really appreciated the meditation you did to begin this. That helped me get into, I think, the right mindset, and so I feel relaxed and hopeful. Thank you all. I love you all.
Yes, I love you all too. I'm very grateful that everyone keeps showing up and trying to make this happen. And yeah, just hopeful, grateful. I think those are both words that have been used before. Yeah,
Good words.
good words.
Yep.
Thank you. Sailesh and then Melissa.
I'm really thankful to all of you. I think we have an amazing family around the world that's pulling together to make this happen. And we are unstoppable together. I feel that very strongly now. Thank you very much.
Melissa.
I feel very grateful and excited. I kind of feel like Homer, in the Iliad and the Odyssey, like we're on this incredible journey together. And I'm looking forward to see where our ship takes us. So thank you guys. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And I look forward to seeing both the angry men and the Vimeo that Jorge posted. And I also heard about another film called Of Ants and Men, which is supposed to be really incredible. So we should all check that out possibly as well. See you guys later. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. And the movie is 12 Angry Men. That we'll get that in writing. We will get that in writing. Okay, Ray, and then Adam.
I think we're going to miraculously speed up and slow down at the same time. Some of us want to speed up, some of us want to slow down. There are different elements that we need to move, and I think that's going to happen. That's my prediction.
Cool. Adam.
Well, I would have to say ditto to Ray's answer. Speed up and slow down at the same time. And thank you for letting me be here. And it was a pleasure meeting everybody and being here. Thanks.
Shankar, are you still with us? All right, while we wait to see if Shankar comes back, I am going to say one more thing, and that is this came out of a novel that I read a long time ago, so I may not get it exactly right, but the idea is that when something new and great is trying to be born, it has to create distractions so that it can have its own privacy for its birthing process. And so I think that there are a fair number of distractions going on right now, and that's because there is a really wonderful thing attempting to be born. And I'll try and find the actual wording from the book at some point. But that idea that because there's all this angst and whatever is actually a good thing. It's actually a good thing because this vegan world needs a little bit of privacy to do its thing and get established. Shankar, are you here? Because we're about to.
He had texted that he has a phone. He had to take a phone call, so he may
he
probably
did.
still on that call. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I did miss that. Okay. All right. So we will let Shankar do his phone call. And I'm guessing that he is going to come back for the after party since he's still here. And Jamin, you said you were really tired. Are you still?
Oh, no, we'll do some after party. It might be half an hour, it might be an hour. I don't think it'll go more than an hour, but there's always an after party.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, this is the official end of the VCI meeting for this week. Thank you all so much for coming and have a fabulous week. And we'll be chatting, some of us very much in person, some of us online or on phone. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for having Sylvie over. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stick around.
Good.
Okay. You want to stick a bit?
Surely.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go. Oh, what are you doing?
All right. Well, welcome everyone to a kind of a subdued, mellow after party. I'll just put in a little bit of Macarena here because I'm kind of tired right now, but that's okay. That's right. Thank you, Benjamin.
It's the sitting Macarena.
The sitting Macarena, meditating Macarena. Everyone just kind of meditate on the Macarena for a minute. Take a deep breath. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I say we just have kind of open sharing because I think part of what people are wanting, and if there happens to be a queue, I'll maintain it. Otherwise, we can just kind of share around. And I want to reiterate my welcome and gratitude to Adam for joining us today, not really knowing what you're jumping into and just going with the flow. So thank you so much. That's, as you heard, one of our topics is precisely onboarding. And, you know, how do we synthesize the past, state where we are and where we're going? And so thank you, Adam. Thanks for being with us. Yeah.
Well, I would like to have the talking stick for a minute, if I could. I feel like I've been getting interpreted a little bit incorrectly, and like I'm some kind of, like I'm a little bit of an antagonist or troll or something, and I'm not. I am totally genuine, and I've been working my tail off really a lot.
Adam, I just need to interrupt briefly, and then I'll pass you back the talking stick. I know we talked about trolls and antagonists and all that. None of that had anything to do with you in the slightest. Okay. So please, that was a total misinterpretation. Back to you, Adam.
Okay. Well, I know that my concept about money is not something that we receive. And so I wanted to explain about that. First of all, my website doesn't tell people that we're going to end money. Well, it does and it doesn't. The idea is not, well, in order to save the world, I think what we need is, we need a plan. I mean, humanity hasn't had a sustainable world since before civilization began. So a sustainable world is new to us. We can't do something new if we don't know what it looks like. We have to plan it out. And I, you know, bless your hearts, everybody. I see it, but the problem I think that you guys are running into, and I'm not saying that you're going to stop or anything. I'm not telling you to stop, but you're trying to come up with a way of doing this that in the world of money. I mean, you're essentially using the same tactics that the environmental movement has used for the last 50 years and has not been successful. They work, they do, the environmental movement does protests and they write their congressmen, and they try to work within the system. And the system is set up to make money. I mean, if you looked at money as a poison, and it's not bad, looking at money as a poison is not as bad as you think.
You don't want it?
Because if you look at money as a poison, it's like if your neighbor accidentally ate a poisoned mushroom and went out of his mind and ran out in the middle of the street in front of your kids naked and started acting like a duck or something. Well, you would get mad. You would be angry at that person. But after you found out that they did it because they were out of their mind, because they had accidentally eaten the poison without knowing it, then you would understand and you would be a lot more able to forgive the person. So what I'm saying is money is a poison to us, and I can't prove it, but it does do things to us. It changes the way we think, and it causes us to build a world, to make a world. If you look over the concrete jungle that's spread all over the world, it's actually that's a picture of what the destruction is. And you look at this concrete jungle that's spread all over the world, well, then realize that that concrete jungle has been built by people who have the money to build it. And that means it comes out of our 20%. It comes from the people that have the money. Now, where did money start? So this is why I've been looking at our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Because where did it start? Well, when we started, yeah, I'm going to take a couple minutes here, okay? This is important, Jamin. We started back when we were hunter-gatherers. Well, a long time ago. First of all, we were living here for like 300,000 years, and in relative harmony on Earth. And then, everything seemed to be going along good. And then our planet is hit by a fragmented comet that explodes and goes all over the world, and it sends us into the Younger Dryas Ice Age. And so then after we come out, and it also it devastates our populations and sends us into the caves. So then we come out of the caves and we're in a different world. We don't live in the animal kingdom anymore. They're not around us. So some of us, like over here in the Americas, they entered the agricultural age and their populations went up. And they hunted animals. And then this happened a lot of places all around the world. The hunter-gatherers changed. But in the area, the Mesopotamian area of the Eastern Europe, we not only went into agriculture, we started herding animals. And when we started herding animals, we developed a different relationship with them. And it was a relationship of loss. We lost our respect for the animals, because in order to grab an animal and eat it out of the herd, we had to harden our hearts in order to be able to eat them and pass, tell our children that they could eat them. We had to harden our hearts against the animals. Well, this spilled over and made us harden our hearts towards all life. And so all life, and that's how it, and so then what happened is our numbers grew and competition grew, and we became fierce to protect our flocks and stuff, and we started invading others, and then we took on slaves. We'd invade other people, we'd get slaves. And then the herders who had the biggest herds would have the most animals to trade for slaves. So that's when the first form of money was born. And when you use money, it takes our like I said, the whole concrete jungle has been built by, that area from Mesopotamia, that's the area that we are the ones that invaded the Americas and took over the Indians. Money has made us insane ever since we started using it. And it's not something that we recognize or see within our heads. It's a very subtle thing. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to develop a website. I'm hoping that we can do this, and maybe, and I don't know if you guys I'm going to try and help. But what I'm doing is I'm developing a website where we need a vision. We need a sustainable future. And in order to have that sustainable future, we need to design it. And we need to do it in a hurry. Well, if we keep trying to design, or we keep trying to find this answer, and at the same time, we try to use this answer in this, you know, in the system of money. If we try to build in a new economic system or something like that, it's going to take a long time. But that's what we're going to do. What I'm saying is, what I'm developing is, I developed this new plan for the future so we'll have a picture of what to do. And then we'll know what to do. Please stop that, Jamin. Give me a minute. Let me finish. You're interrupting me, and it totally freaks me out and takes my gist away. Just give me a minute, okay? Please. Okay. So I'm almost done anyway. This is new. It's hard for people to fathom, because we grow up in the world of money. And when we grow up in the world of money, we learn that our survival depends on money. Then we get the perception that our survival depends on money instead of nature. And the truth is, as you and I know, that our survival truly depends on nature. But we forget that when we grow up in the artificial world of money. So we destroy nature by proxy, and we don't realize that. So in the way I'm doing is, I'm saying that we can make a plan the future. We can make a total plan for the future much more easily if we don't include a system of money in it. We just get money completely out of the way, because there's going to come a time, and it's not going to be very long from now, when humanity is going to go crazy, because the atmosphere, the Mother Earth is going, the environmental systems are going to go crazy. They're going to fall apart, and then and we're going to be threatened with the collapse of civilization, and nobody's going to know what to do. The only way they're going to know what to do is if we have a plan already made, and we use the technology that we have been given today to delve into all these areas and come up with the solutions. I'm saying, we come up with all the solutions to use that technology, and then we don't worry about how much it costs, or how people are going to, this whole idea, a concept of working for what you do, or for what you get, or earning what you deserve, man, that sets up a mindset that's not sustainable. So we build the vision without the money system. That's what I'm trying to do. And we can build it 100 times faster. It eliminates, and what you do is you form a bunch of topic teams like you guys are doing. And then you have a modeling program that you test you have people put their ideas into the program, and then they're tested against unbiased models, that are totally unbiased, and then they come back and they say, and the one thing that is the guide, the mission, the vision that we have, is that we're building a sustainable future for the children of the world. That's our mission, because in that way we're building, what we're doing is we're on this, I'm saying we get humanity's platform going, and we work to, everybody that joins the platform works together to build this vision. And what we're doing is we're designing this future. The vision is the design of the future. And what we're designing is a sustainable future for the children of the world. Now, that doesn't mean we don't all get to go along. I'm just saying that if we design a vision as a sustainable future for the children of the world, that ensures the continuation of humanity on Earth. That makes sure, then we know what we're building. And by building it as a sustainable future for the children of the world, we're not building it for ourselves. We're building it for them. So that takes away a lot of argument. People get attached to their own ideas. They're not building it for them. It's not their idea. It's for somebody else. It's for our children. Anyway, so that's what I'm trying to do. And I will, and I will be glad to help you guys as much as I can. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I've known Adam for at least a couple of years now, and we've had some deep discussions, and he's really helped me to see the poisonous effect of money and just how it's become sort of invisible. And Adam, I'm not sure if you're aware of the work of Dr. Sailesh Rao with the Ahimsa currency, Aquarius. Okay. And anyway, okay, awesome. Shankar, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Adam, I really like the concept, especially in those like less connected days, the indigenous people or the scattered tribal population across the world are able to barter something and make a decent living or survive. With so many junk that we created with the industrial production, we can just use any one of those as a barters and keep moving. Like I've seen even in India recently, I heard if you go and do some exercise, you get a free rail ticket. Or if you go and put a lot of plastic bottles, you get so we have to be very creative or innovative in terms of not necessary to use the money, but the exchange of value is more important. I know I would say one point comes to my mind is it's like have you ever seen a measuring jar? It has all those measurements, liters or the cup like that on the either side. People, instead of focusing on the value inside, what you put on the jar is more important than the measure on the jar. But people get carried away by the measure as an equivalent instead of the mercury inside the thermometer is more important than the reading. So the value makes the real thing, but people get carried away as a sense of security by the measurement. And they think if they own the measure, they can measure everything and that gives them more value. But actually it's not. They lose the value. Temporarily it gives you.
Let me
long term it
add
loses.
one thing. I want to explain one thing. I've heard that there are Kenyans from Africa, from the country Kenya. They're traveling like all night long just so they can get on the internet and do something about climate change that's happening. I mean, people all over the world want to do something. And they're not, they don't have the chance, they don't have the opportunity to get to do something. So if you guys are looking for people to join, let me tell you this, the statistics show that 20% of the world holds 90% of the world's wealth. And you look over the concrete jungle, it's all come from our 20%. The 80% splits 10%, which means they don't have any power because money is power. So they don't have the power and we don't hear them, but they want to help. And that is a huge database of information and people that will help. And there's a lot of really intelligent and smart people in there and good people. And that's a whole world that's not even being tapped.
Yes, Jorge. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jamin. I've been hearing the story of the economy, right? And how can we break out of the accumulation, centralization, and yeah, like the capital and the cattle has the same like a Latin root, no, which is head, like the. So it is funny to mention this related to the animal-less meat going on, that they're trying to destroy the cattle, but continue the capital. It is very weird what is going on. And
Well, that's the secret. I'm not saying that we try to change humanity. We don't try to get them to stop. That's the tactic that the environmental movement has used. They try to tell us we have to change. We're not telling people to change. That's my plan anyway. Instead, we make a plan that's ready to show them how to change and what we can change to have a sustainable future when they're ready to listen. Because we can't change them. They've tried forever to change them, and they can't change them. It's too hard.
Right.
That's what I see it.
It is not about just like telling people, stop doing that and do this, right? Like it takes more than that. And I think that's why Dr. Rao mentioned the 12 Angry Men movie, because it's about this, no? Like how can you change the mind of somebody else without the, what's the word, like the colonialist mindset of saying everybody vegan now, no? Like if we come through, well, to transcend this colonialist mindset, then what is the approach? And
we don't change them.
There's some different ways to do it, right? Like one way is to get out of the comfort zone, but that needs to be in a willing basis. Like I need to be willing to get out of my comfort zone. And
we're not going to make them. That's what I'm saying. We're not going to say, our imperialist, colonialist concept is not going to change them. The person that's going to change them is not a person, it's Mother Earth. Her words are going to scare the heck out of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to want to know how to get out of this. If we don't have a plan ready for how to get out of it, then we're going to, I don't know, it's horrible. But if we have a plan ready, then we can transition into a new life that's sustainable.
Right, but who's going to look at that plan? For example, we are talking about the mainstream culture, but there are subcultures. Like I mentioned in one comment, this place that I went to, which is completely like Mad Max setting in the high desert in the Mesa north of Taos. I was living there for a month. We were building houses that take care of people in a way that most people don't understand houses, you know, like, and from that experience, I learned that there's something that needs to be shifted in our perception of the world, because if we keep thinking that the bank and the bills and the coins and now the Bitcoin is going to be the way that we make transactions, we're still in the same mindset. Like, how can we transcend the economy? And in this place, I was sitting in the theory room before we went out every day to build these houses. And this man that was almost 70 years old back then, I think he's around 74 now, he walks the talk. Like, he got out of the comfort zone, and he went out to get the wasteland that nobody wanted and got it for peanuts, because nobody in the real estate sector thought that this land was going to be of any value. So it requires to be out of the mindset of the comfort zone. And
Right.
what they write here is very important. Like the modern world has a system to sustain an economy, and the economy is supposed to sustain the people. It doesn't.
Right.
A greater world would have a system that sustains the people, and the sustenance of the people would sustain an economy.
And that's excellent.
The result, not the means of sustaining people. Sustain the people and you will transcend economy. So how does that work in the real scenario? And it's through these houses in his concept. What does a house involve for the people? To get a steady job, to get a paycheck every 15 or 30 days, to pay the bills, to pay the water utility, the energy utility, you know, all of this, food. So people are enslaved in this economy system to survive. Like the system is not set up to tell you, okay, you will have a roof, you will have clothes, you will have a good weather inside of this shelter, and then you can have your time to create and to do what humans came to this world to do,
Right.
co-create.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. I mean, but we're not making people do anything or change, because as this collapse approaches and Mother Earth is screaming, more and more people will be looking for a way out. So then if we have a plan, then we'll be ready. And what they'll do is they'll look on the website that I'm putting together, saying on the platform, see, everybody would come together and put in their own ideas, and they'd be modeled and tested, and we would build this platform, this, like you said, this life that would be suitable for everybody depending on where you live and what culture you came from, you know, all that. But, and so then they're going to compare, they're going to look at what they're doing in the world of money and what's going on. And they're going to compare that to what we can build in a world without money, what we can do, we can design in the new future. The scientists are telling us that we need like an 80% reduction of our fossil fuel and chemical, all the waste right across the board. We need an 80% reduction in everything. Well, the only way to get that, they're saying, it would be the collapse of civilization. Well, if we designed,
that there's a plan already.
Yeah, but
the plans already, and how do people get a hold on those plans?
Okay,
like, if you come up with a plan.
Okay, put me in touch with these guys. I'll talk to them. But what I'm saying is that if they're going to compare, when people are going to compare what we can do and what we are able to do now to what can be done in our plan. And this plan involves the whole world. It's people from all over. Right now there's like 7.7 billion people in the world, and 4.5 billion of us are on the internet. That means there's a whole lot of poor people in third world countries and everything that can get on the platform and help. So when more and more people will get on, because they'll be seeing, you know, Mother Earth will be screaming, yeah. and so they'll come on, and then people, and the more people come on, the more they'll see that there's an answer, and we can cut the chase and build the vision.
There's more than one plan already. Like the plans are there. Like there's so many of them. People have a solution. I have a solution.
Yeah.
No,
I know Dr. Silas has a solution.
Exactly.
We need what we don't have. What we need, what we don't have, is humanity does not have a place to come together and in council. I mean, the Indians come together in council, you know, corporations, the government, they come together in councils. Humanity doesn't have a place to come together and make decisions based on wisdom. All of our decisions that we make are based on money, pretty much. Corporations rule the world, and all of their decisions are based on money.
Enter collective intelligence. I think Ray has the hand raised. I think.
I did because Salish had his hand raised, and I was hoping he wasn't saying goodbye because I wanted to ask him if there's something happening with the Aquarius group, because you said you're going to talk to Jean-Francois on Monday. Is there good news? Are we going to be talking about money and how to get rid of it?
So the Aquarius group, I did speak to Jean-Francois on Monday, and we have another part of the Aquarius group is Arvind and Nandini Paranjpe. I don't know if you know them, but they have been working on this app and a video, a 20-minute video and an app. And the app it's a reputation currency app. It's basically builds a reputation currency for people so that they can show that they have been authentic and they've been, planting trees and so on and so forth. So they're going to have a conversation between the two of them to see if that can be the basis of the Aquarius app. So that you have something starting out already. Because really, I want the Aquarius app to be built on Holochain as the platform. That's, by the way, Skimaya doing that to my camera. But the Holochain platform is just being deployed. We just I got the boxes last couple of weeks ago, and I haven't even installed them yet. So, whereas the United in Heart app is being done on regular platforms. Don't do that. On open source platforms. So that will be a good starting point, and then we can think about porting that to the Holochain platform in the future. So at least it gives us a head start right away, so that we have an app that we can start sending to people. Okay, so that's the conversation that's happening with Jean-Francois, and we're going to because that work has been going on the side anyway for the last 2 years. Ever since I gave a talk in Portland and Arvind and Nandini went vegan on the spot, and then they decided to work on this. They've been working on this for 2 years. So now it's coming to fruition. So we want a single app that we can get people to come around. We don't want multiple apps. We want everyone to come around the same. And also maybe come around the Vegan World 2026 concept as opposed to Climate Healers, Prevent Zero, or United in Heart, any of that. So that we have something to brand and something to, because I think Vegan World 2026 is something that I can get lots of organizations to support. To say, yeah, it is part of our vision as well to see a vegan world by 2026. So it becomes something that is independent of Climate Healers. It can become something larger on its own. And we can fulfill our promise to this girl and her generation. Literally, we need to create an infrastructure that we can get a running start to Aquarius with what Arvind and Nandini are already doing. Okay, so that's the conversation that's happening with JF. So because JF said that, as a study group, if you are asking people to start, giving input to Aquarius, to the design of Aquarius, and they have no experience in currency at all, it'll be difficult to have a group that can work efficiently. Right.
So I suppose it's better to steer all other conversations about money to compassionate commerce and new economy.
Right, yeah.
Suzanne and I are actually having dinner with Arvind and Nandini this weekend.
Oh, good.
And I'm excited to talk to him about it. I didn't know that you had been talking with him. And I'm also excited to dive into the Holochain stuff because Suzanne and I currently live somewhere where the internet it's not feasible for us to run one here. But I think I'm thinking of installing one at my parents' house where there's a stable connection, and so we'll have something here. So I'm looking forward to talking to Arvind about that. That's really interesting. And I'm glad to hear that that's moving moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one philanthropist who has been who funded that. So they have the resources to get it deployed by June. That's their target, is to get it deployed by June.
Well, I'll help you guys as if I can, but I'm going to be continuing on my course, and just trying to. And I'm preparing a script for a video that I want to do to solicit the elite and ask them for help. See if I can get a big donor, because humanity needs a platform where we can bring all these ideas together. We can bring those ideas from the Jorge mentioned of the people up in the mountains, and we can bring your idea of veganism, and everybody's ideas can come together. I mean, I just think that we can do it all a lot easier, a lot faster, if we don't have to wrestle with trying to come up with a new means of using money. I don't think we have time for that, but I'm not going to change your minds. So that's what I'm going to do. Keep going.
Yes, sir. A.
To a large degree, you don't need to change your minds. I think a lot of the groups that we have in Vegan World 2026, they have the shift solutions and the new model solutions. And I think the new model solutions are going to be much more facilitated if we have some real, great progress in what's wrong with capitalism. Either it's a shift to a constrained capitalism that is, sustainable with the environment, or social systems, socialism that works more fluidly. Of course, we have to work within this gross, broken economy in the meantime. So that's why we have the shift solutions. How do we make shifts now? So you'll see a lot of vegans talking about the great new things that are coming out in the markets, and we're shifting the markets. That only works to so far. And I think that once you really get into the radical of changing our world, not just tweaking our systems, but removing the violence out of our systems. The current monetary system is extremely violent. I think your model of calling it a poison is right down the middle. That's perfect. I totally agree with that. And how do we find something that motivates the world to do all the good things that allegedly capitalism does, motivates people to be involved? And I think the Aquarius has got its thumb on the pulse of that. It's got some suggestions on how you motivate people to be engaged, which is always the criticisms of any sort of non-capitalist system. I'm intrigued when you say that you're going to approach the elite, because they love this system. How do you get them to change their mind? Because you go to billionaires and say, we got to change the world. They got, either consciously or subconsciously, they're going to be saying, I like the way things are right now. This is the system that made me great. I became a billionaire. I became successful by everybody's definition because I understand the system. And you want to change it? They might say that they'll help you, and they may be lying through their teeth. It's something I'm really interested in, because I want to do what you're saying. I want to approach Larry Fink of BlackRock, who holds all the money in the world, goes through his hands. Is he above the corporatocracy, or is he the keeper of the corporatocracy? This is the big question.
Yeah. Well, not everybody's going to do it, but there's going to be somebody. And humanity needs a platform. And one thing, we're 20% of the world holds 90% of the world's wealth. Well, if money is a poison, that means we're also under 90% of the poison. And so we don't think right. And nobody's looking in the direction of a world without money. Everybody's looking in the direction of making it some kind of a money system. And we're not coming up with answers. In the meantime, the climate change is progressing rapidly. and we're not coming up with answers. I'm saying we can come up with an answer by looking in the direction of a world without money. And we can do this on this humanities platform.
Yeah, it's a lot of our obstacles are we're up against all the money in the world. And even in the vegan community, there's so many people that they want the liberation of animals, but at the same time, they want to consume like nobody's business. They're getting their sand between their toes twice a year and flying to wherever they want to go with a complete disregard for their impact on the planet. And that, I don't think that's terribly vegan of them at all, because they're, you know, ignoring the tree frogs that are going extinct in the meantime. You're concerned about farmed animals. What about the ones going extinct? The ones you don't see, the ones you can't go to a slaughterhouse and see them. They're dying, whether we see them or not. Hey, Jamin.
Awesome. Well, I wasn't trying to hurry you, Ray. I was just wanted to get in the queue. You know, there's a really interesting parallel I see here between, I'm going to call it Adam Soul's moneyless world. Some of us are old enough to remember Adam Smith's money world. Adam Soul's moneyless world, and Dr. Silas Rao's vegan world. And the one thing that both of those have in common is each of them identifies something that's just massively wrong with society today, right? And says, hey, if we eliminate that, that's a huge positive start. Silas wants to eliminate the killing of animals. God bless you. Adam, you want to eliminate money. God bless you. Silas's is actually doable within the world of money, right? You can still be living in the world of money and not eating meat, right? Adam, could we eliminate money and still live in a carnivorous world? I'm just kind of doing the mirror.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know that. I was just posing it as a kind of a mirror image, hypothetical, theoretical question. And but really, all of us would agree, every vegan here would agree that the consumption of meat is not the only problem we have in the world. Just as Adam, I'm sure you would agree that the use of money is not the only problem we have. But both of these are major poisons that if you buy into the world of eating meat, it's going to affect every part of your life and every part of your psyche. And it is a poison, and it poisons us. This carnivorous lifestyle is a poison at multiple levels. Just like, Adam, you've identified that money poisons us at multiple levels. We all want fundamentally the same thing. We all want a world that works and that's compassionate and loving and preserves and enhances life rather than diminishes it. And so I just wanted to point out the commonality that we all share, regardless of whether you're Adam or Silas or any of us. We all want, or Kamaya, we all want a world that works and that's loving and that's compassionate. And how do we get there, right? And you know, these are all valid starting points. And you know, the whole point of collective intelligence is let's bring together all of these starting points and all of these different perspectives that we all have, and let's talk and co-create and co-design a way forward, a path forward. And
well, we need a sustainable future. So we need to design it. We need to have a plan for a sustainable future. And I mean, if we get the, you know, if the collapse comes and we don't have a plan, then we're in real trouble. But if we have a plan, then we'll be able to change. And you can't, and we're not coming up with a plan, and we're stumbling around because we always get hung up on the money deal. I mean, all the, you know, the veganism and stuff, that's all can be built into the plan, you know, be tested against the models, and we know what to do. But money, when we try to build in a money system, it's just a continuation of the mindset that's destroyed the world, and And it's too hard. It becomes too complicated. You can't design a plan. I mean, I don't.
All right, Suzanne, you've been waiting patiently, followed by Jorge. Go ahead, Suzanne. Thanks.
Well, I'm enjoying the discussion. We have to get going, but I wanted to say, Adam, I'm glad that you're joining Vegan World 2026 Base Camp so you can see what we're doing there, because it might be very similar, or it might be the platform that you're looking for, because from my understanding, that's what we're all doing here. We're all trying to create not just a sustainable future for Kamaya and her friends, but a regenerative future that's more than sustainable. And I hope we can talk about this more. And also, my understanding of Vegan World 2026, it isn't just veganism. It is, at its foundational level, it is getting rid of a money-driven economy and replacing it with a service-driven economy. So there still needs to be an exchange of value somehow. We can't all just sit around and not do anything. So I think there's a lot more to discuss here about economics, I guess. Yeah. And we have to go, unfortunately, right now. So I look forward to seeing you on Basecamp.
Awesome.
Thank you,
That's
everybody.
the problem. There's a lot more to discuss about economics. That's the problem.
Yeah, I wanted to just put something on the table. What is the shift that we feel when we just take out the word sustainable and put in thriving? Because like in my body, I feel a immediate change. Like I feel okay, like thriving for me is like something that gets my cells on their toes, you know. And when I hear sustainable, it is like it pulls me back to a scarcity mindset. But I know that not everybody has the same perception of these words. I'm just like opening the question, like for the people that are here, like is there a difference, or is the same, or that's not really relevant, or means the whole world of difference?
Are you saying that sustainability is a good word, or it's not an insufficient word?
No, not really good or bad. It's just like to check in with your body. Like that's what I do with because they say that the body never lies. So when you feel like sustainable, for me, it's like I feel like curving. I feel like putting my head down. And when I hear thriving, that's something that, yes, no, I want to go there.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention sustainable is such a abused word. It doesn't mean anything anymore, especially because of agriculturalists who just say that we've used sustainable beef now because it's better than the way somebody else is doing beef. Comparative sustainability. And there's so much of the conversation is locked up there. And a lot of it points to weird things like CAFO farming being the most efficient, therefore it's the best. You know,
It's the best for us. But
not the least amount of fossil fuel use.
But what if we were building it for the children of the world? We're not. It's not about our feelings. It's about how they can survive. Now look at the word thrive, and you know, what's the difference between thrive and sustainable? Sustainable sounds like it's for sure. Thrive sounds like, well, who gets to thrive?
Well, you just described this world. Who gets
right.
to thrive?
And this
We're
world
thriving,
isn't
and there's lots of
sustainable.
people that aren't. Yeah, thrive is a much better word, I believe. Sustainable sounds like we're aiming for just enough. So in the future, the children will be able to sustain themselves. when really we want them to thrive, and we want animals to thrive too. We don't just want them to avoid extinction. We'd like to, have habitats for them so that they don't live lives of misery.
Well, if we started over, if we had a chance to start over again, we have the technology to restore the mastodon, to bring back all these big fauna that we used to live with. We have the intelligence to do this, but if we don't survive this, if we don't have a sustainable life, then we can't do that.
I'd like to do two things. Number one, welcome Dylan Howard. Dylan texted back and forth with me. He's actually just multitasking and sort of listening in. Most of you, I think, know Dylan from the block parties, and he's been a major force and just incredible. He really shaped this last Solution Club meeting, all 4 hours of it, and brought in a lot of amazing people. So just wanted to welcome Dylan, and he's multitasking. He's probably taking care of his kids or whatever, so he's just listening.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoying the conversation. Thank you for the intro.
Absolutely.
I'm multitasking, yes, but I'm really enjoying the conversation.
No pressure, Dylan. You don't need to talk. You're all good. But jump in if you ever feel like it and you have the ability. What I wanted to also mention on the topic that we're on is, and this is a conversation I've had with Adam, which is kind of ongoing, that there's really sort of a two-part, if we could break our problem down into two parts. Part one is design the future that we all want. And Adam, for your benefit and for everyone's, I'm going to say, let's just say we design it without money, or we're just actually looking at, physically, what are we growing? How are we interacting with nature? What are we eating? Where are we living? What are our homes made of? Are we living communally? Are we living individually? And fundamentally, what is the game we are playing, right? If we all agreed to play the game of life and love and compassion and joy and togetherness and community. Look, I guarantee you, if the 8 of us on this call right now went off on a camping trip and, we all planned it out, we would just go and we would just have fun. I wouldn't be like trying to steal Silish's sweater, or he wouldn't be trying to steal my tent. I mean, we'd just be having fun and we'd be sharing, right? So we all know, Charles Eisenstein wrote a book with the title, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible, right? Our hearts know that a more beautiful world is possible, and that this modality that we're in, that we were born into, steeped into, beaten into us, K through 12, then you got to go to college, you'll be a loser, and you got to make money, and you got to, it's just, we're just bewildered. We're worn out, and it's not working. So part one is design that future that we all want, right? Forget for a moment about how would we ever get there? Forget about all that for the moment. Part one, design that future. Start with a clean slate, get rid of money, get rid of killing, get rid of all the bad things we don't want, and pile it high with all the good things we do want, and whoa, right? And then take a deep breath and just let that, sleep on that for the weekend. Then we'll meet up again Monday morning and say, okay, great. Part two, how do we get there, right? And I think for me, the single biggest vector for how do we get there is veganism, in my personal experience. And that's just living and hanging with all of you and seeing all your beautiful example. I mean, it just works for me way better than anything else I've seen. Another major vector I'd throw in there is intelligence, because we're doing this collective intelligence thing through Zoom video conferencing, and it's working. It's opening up our worlds. It's not always comfortable, but it's working beautifully. Gee, what else? What else? What else? Right? And I think that's what's inspired Silish to come up with the Ahimsa currency, evolving, Aquarius, and all that. I and others at Radish came up with the compassionate economy concept and the CCC standard, eliminating hunger, et cetera, et cetera. These are all efforts. This is all part of part two. How do we get from where we are to where we want to go? And Adam, one of the things I love about what you're doing and the focus that you're putting to it is it's an intense focus on part one. What is the world that we want without money and without a whole Okay, you're shaking your head. So go ahead, Adam. What am I getting wrong?
I'm not creating a world. I'm not changing the world we live in now. I mean, see, what you guys are doing is you're creating a plan for a new life, but you're doing it and you're including the world of money. You're trying to make the plan. Well, what I'm saying is, what if you took all your ideas and you used the system that we have now, and but instead of building the future, designing the future as a world with money, get all your colleagues together and put the smart people together and bring in the 80% too, and create the vision, or at least allow the vision of a world without money to be created at the same time.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was saying part one, create the world that we want, a world without money.
No, not the world we want. The world that's sustainable for the future, for the children of the world, because it's their world. Our world is gone.
Okay. We're tripping up over words here. What I'm saying to you, Adam, is the world that we want. The 8 of us who are in this room. The world that we want is exactly what you have articulated. A world that works for the children of the future. That's what we want. That's what we all want, right? So just say James and I agree, and then that'll help us. That'll help us move along. Just try it, Adam. We want the same thing. We want a world that works.
We want the same thing.
We want the same thing.
Okay, and what I'm saying, in order to get that future, in order to get any future that we want, or a sustainable future, we have to plan it. We have to come up with a plan.
See,
and what I'm saying, let me finish. If you guys make this plan and you include some kind of a monetary system, it's going to become too difficult to make the plan to finish. I'm going to finish way before you guys will. And then we'll have a plan. Because you guys are going to run into argument after argument trying to make a world with money. And it's been proven millions of times.
Well, so Adam, what I'm suggesting, all right, again, think about the two parts. Part one, what is the future we want? What is the world we want? And that we just get totally creative and we don't constrain ourselves with anything. And I would agree with you. Let it be a world without money and a world without killing, and a world without a whole bunch of the bad stuff that we have today, and with a whole bunch of good stuff, some of which we have today, some of which we don't have today. But let's design that world. That's part one. Where do we want to get to? Part two is, what's the pathway to get there? Now, consider, I would say part two is much harder, because we are in many ways trapped and enslaved and conditioned with what we currently have. And, a world with money, a world with hoarding, a world where the game is all about accumulation and dominance. And I have more than you. And in fact, I've got so much more than you that you work for me practically as a slave, and I get to kick you around and, all kinds of terrible stuff. So we were born, I often make the analogy, it's like we're little babies born into a violent, horrible Brazilian favela, where the way to get by is through violence. I mean, you're just taught that as a little kid. And so we're just in this violent syndrome. And
yeah, but you were born in the world of the 20%. You're born in the world of money. There's a whole 80% that's not. They think differently than we do.
Adam, you asked me to not interrupt you. Would you be willing to extend me the same courtesy?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So I make the analogy, we're born into this world that is so broken, so violent, with so much hurt, that we don't even know who we are anymore, right? We've lost ourselves, and we're in the process of trying to rediscover who we are. And for me, the most beautiful, powerful vector for achieving that is veganism.
But you keep saying we.
We, yeah.
Who's we?
All of us.
Who's all of us?
You.
Does it include the 80%?
It includes
Because
everyone. It
they
includes
don't
everyone.
think like that. They weren't raised like us. They don't have the street lights. They know what the stars look like. They're much closer to the earth and to living in a world without money. They could imagine that world way faster than we could. And the people like you, who are and Dr. Silas, you guys are the movers and shakers of the world. You come out of the top part of the money system. And now you're going to bring the other people in the money system in. That's the part that spread the concrete jungle all over the world. And we're not even listening to the 80%.
Go ahead, Ray.
This returns to my question earlier, Adam, about why you think that approaching the elite, who are the filthiest of that crowd that you're talking about, why do you think that they're going to listen? They're going to absolutely hate everything that you're saying, and they may not say it, may go, yes, interesting, but they're going to protect the system that make them great. This has to be a people movement. This has to come from those people that you're talking about that we can learn from. Like the Eat Lancet report identified a group of people, not the bottom 800 million people who don't get enough food to eat. The next billion people who have what they describe as a sufficient nutritional diet. They are 5 times as they have a fifth of the consumption of the Eat Lancet diet that is the projected diet for everybody in Western civilization to obey in order to cut their emissions. So there's like this huge gap between them. We can learn from those people, but it has to be a people movement. It can't be Bill Gates. It can't be billionaires. We can't trust that they will have our best interests, even when they say they do. They will say a lot of nice words, and then they'll do the opposite. You just listen to Vandana Shiva and talk about Bill Gates, and you'll kind of get a sense of it, that there's people that are trying to save the world in the billionaire way, and it's always going to be money. So I'm not sure what there is to say to them.
Well, that's why we need a platform for humanity that doesn't have any money in it, that's supported solely by the membership fees that are on a graduated scale, and you don't have to pay if you don't want. Then humanity has a place to go.
Will try to stop you as well.
That's what, yeah. So that's why we all we're doing on the platform is building a vision of a new world. We're not trying to change the world that we live in now. So why
when you were describing that, I was hoping Sailesh would talk about what he had in mind when he was the Sacred Lifeline Project. You had planned a community that would be a model community for the world to look at and say, this is the way I want to live, not this. I want this. How did money work in that project?
The problem with that is that it's not Sailish's, it's not his plan. It's not up to him.
What is the platform? It's what you're talking about as a platform.
I'm talking about humanity's platform, where humanity joins, people join that want to join, and they work together and they come up with the plans. They test them with the models, unbiased models. And they come up with the plans. Not me. But if they waste time trying to, if they try to build a monetary system into it, I mean, think about it. The 20% and is going to try to build a monetary system in it. The 80% will probably look and see that we could actually have a plan a lot faster. I mean, let's get a plan made first. That's what I'm saying. Let's get a plan so we have something to change to, so we can survive. Now you guys want to screw around and try to build in some kind of monetary system. And it's been tried before. It's been tried a million times. It's never worked. But we can get that all out of the way by making a plan without a monetary system. And it's not my idea. It's not whether I want something or something. It's up to everybody, not just the 20%.
Maybe I misunderstood. Are you appealing to the 20% to come up with this solution?
No.
You're appealing to the billionaires, the elite.
I'm going to, because I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to ask an elite because they've got enough money, because somebody's going to have enough money. So we need money to build the platform. And then people, once you build it, they will come, because people don't have any place to go, because the people in Kenya are traveling all night long just to get on the internet. So once they have a place to come and something that we can actually sink our teeth into, we can really do, we can build a vision for the future. Without that vision, people without vision are lost. Without a vision, I mean, after we get it done, if you guys want to try and come up with some other kind of monetary system, then go ahead. I mean, you can do it anyway. But the world, if you're going to do it, all I'm saying is, while you're doing it, at least give the world without money a chance, because that way we can actually have a plan when the collapse comes. Because if we screw around with trying to develop a system with money, it's going to take too long. But, you know, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm intrigued with what you're saying, that there's wisdom in this 20% that live in ways that we can learn from, right? I kind of hinted at it with the Eat Lancet diet, where they're, you know, Harvard and the Harvard is got this diet to say that if we eat this, then if everybody eats this, then we'll be okay. And people are saying, well, that's way more than a lot of people eat. The 20% don't eat that richly of what is being described. So we obviously have instantly a model that we are consuming 5 times as much as we really need to. We're eating so high on the food chain, and we're eating, you know, food that's eating other food. There's, you know, food that's, you know, so rich in so many different ways of production that most of the world can live more streamlined than we can. Keith Akers was talking about simple living as a study group within Basecamp, and they've left now. But Benjamin and Suzanne live in a micro house or in a mini house. Those minimal living kind of things are just things that most people just blow their minds. They go, "Oh, that's cute," but I got to have my big house. I got to have my 2 cars, and I need to have more and more and more in order to live the life that we've been taught, the life that you just illustrated very clearly. What can we learn from people in Kenya? I tried to teach the church where I worked to understand climate change, because the church in Kenya understood it clearly. They live on the front lines of climate change. They can't ignore it. But the church in Toronto, they can believe whatever they want. They can believe it's a sign of God that the people in Kenya are being punished. Jamin?
Yeah. I just wanted to point out Silas and Shankar have been waiting patiently. Let's give them an opportunity. Shankar?
Yeah, Silas, if you want to go, you can go. Actually, I have a question, but I can ask at the end. No problem.
Yeah, I have to leave soon because I have to put my granddaughter to bed. So I'm gonna just say, I think eventually we will get to a place where we don't have to measure anything, because we'll automatically be doing the right thing. Okay, that is what Adam is talking about when he says no money, where you don't have to measure anything because you're automatically doing the right thing. But as an engineer, I also know that given our current situation, we better measure and figure out how we're going to get to that place. Because our population is so big at the moment, And when we say to the other 80%, you can do whatever you want, it is going to destroy the planet very quickly unless we have some way of measuring and making sure that we are taking care of the planet and we are being equitable to everyone. And this is the idea behind Aquarius currency. It's a way of measuring our ecological footprint and then figuring out a way to do it in the current system itself so that you can transition from where we are to where we need to go. We can play two games simultaneously. Because the game of money that we are stuck with playing, we didn't ask for it, but that's the game that we are born into. And that's where all our, resources are being allocated in the current game of money. So in the game of Aquarius that we are creating, we are saying that the game of money can be played with the game of Aquarius simultaneously, which changes our behavior, which changes how we access resources. So just like veganism changes the corporations to start giving us vegan food, Aquarius will change corporations to start giving us ecologically sensitive products. So it will make them become more and more ecologically sensitive because we are measuring it. And we are looking for things that are not ecologically destructive. So, because right now that information is hidden from us. We don't talk about that, right? And so this way you can create a transition path from where we are to where we need to go. And once we then get to a point where we can drop the current system of money and we only have a system of Aquarius, I think we can even stop measuring at that point. Maybe, right? Because we are already, in that mindset of minimizing our impact automatically. But as long as we are not in that mindset, as an engineer, I want to measure. I want to measure and make sure that we are not going over the edge. Otherwise, we're going to go over the edge. This is
like you do with the milk.
Yeah, this is always the case, right? This is what we are doing now, right?
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we don't have a plan ready when we need it.
We have one, we are working on it. We are implementing the app for it. Anyway, and you can read about it. I have an entire website devoted to it. Climate Healers. And,
I've been looking at it, and it's a good plan. I mean, it's probably, but you can make a plan. At the same time, you can also make a plan.
All right.
For the world without money.
Thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Thank you, Silas, Kamaya. Great to see you both. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Night.
All right.
I think I'm also going to sign off.
Okay.
Yeah, I am kind of lost in the schedule. I don't know when is the next time. I think it's Friday, no? That you're doing another 24 hours, the fourth one.
Every Friday. Every Friday, 24-hour block party.
Amazing. Adam, it has been a pleasure to see you again and
Thank you.
to keep the conversation going. Ray, take care. Shankar.
Okay.
Thank you, Jorge. Yes.
And it's Jorge. Jorge. And by the way, Silas, it's not Silesh. It's Stylish.
Stylish. Okay.
Accent on the first syllable. Silas.
I don't even speak a foreign language, so I'm pretty bad.
Anyway, Shankar, you've been very, very, very patient.
Shankar.
Go ahead, Shankar.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Adam, this is a very novel idea. It's a concept exists, but the way you are explaining, you're placing the problem statement and also the plan. So what I will probably I'm going to ask here, the Climate Healers, the Vegan World 2026, definitely have variety of groups where the problem statement can be evaluated. Like the problem statement is, yes, money slows down. This is in other groups, I won't say I'm not an expert at all, but talk through a little bit. How do you overcome something monetarily tagged is? You just bundle and break it. It works. That means what? You're not paying money, or you're paying money in a very comprehensive way. That's like slow transition, okay? Because everybody has to do a living. Suddenly you cannot do anything. But the groups in Vegan World 2026 could be the answer. And it requires further discussion on the thoughts, like the problem statements needs to be analyzed in one way. The plan is also needs to be analyzed in one way. And it's not a 1-minute solution. It's not a 1-day solution. It involves people, process, time, rethinking of the same thought that came today, so that it is helpful. Can anybody help, like what groups will be relevant for the thought that Adam mentioned today? Like what groups in our thing, at least closest?
You know, I'm not, all I'm saying is we don't change the world we're living in now. And the people in the 80% in the third world countries think a lot different than we do. And they haven't been given the chance, they haven't had the chance, you know, to even speak. They don't have the power. And they have just as much right to live as we do. They have a right to participate. Now, they're going to pick ways of living for the, and this is all hypothetical. We're not doing this for real. We're making a vision of the future. So they're going to want to do their own ways, and we're going to want to do our own ways and put our own ways in there. So how do we make it decide which way is right? Well, we don't decide. We let the modeling of the technology, we make the technology so that it's unbiased. And that's easy to do if it's only logical. If you start introducing money into the computer processes, they can't be logical anymore. Because money causes everything to, well, it just corrupts everything. It causes us, it corrupts humans. It attacks us through our intelligence.
What's logical to money? I'm just thinking of, like, there's logic that makes sense to some people, like trickle-down economy. That's not one that I subscribe to, but some people would say that's logical.
Is it logical to build nuclear, to support the nuclear power industry when we don't even know how to dispose of the radioactive waste? Is that logical?
I know some arguments for that. I'm not sure if I agree with them. James Hansen says we need to get off fossil fuels so badly that the risk that we're talking about with nuclear is peanuts in comparison. That's his philosophy. I don't know if I buy it or not.
No,
but I'm not sure if I'm the person that answers those questions anyway. I saw Chernobyl lately. It doesn't seem like a great idea.
I mean, if humanity is going to continue to take risks, why do we take risks? We do it for money. Because us and our 20%, we grow up learning how to survive in this world of money, and it makes us have the false perception that our survival depends off of money.
There's a friend that I keep trying to lure to the Solutions Club or to the Block Party. He's got a radio program, and every once in a while he brings up this idea. He says, let's get all the billionaires in the world together and make them invent a cap, a net value cap that they agree to. It could be anything that they want, but they have to come up with one. And anything beyond that is money that spills over to solve world problems.
Yeah.
And you start with that. Would billionaires agree to that? The problem with billionaires is they say, well, I do good things with my money. You ask Bill Gates, I'll give you half of my money after I die, but in the meantime, I'm doing great stuff. So you really don't want me to have less money. You want me to have more money. And besides, if I'm giving away half my money after I die, the more money I have by the time I die means more money for giving back, right? This is the billionaire logic.
I mean, money affects people in different ways, and it's not necessarily that you're rich. I mean, somebody who is like gung ho to make big money. They're like ready to make they're poor, or in the lower 20%, and they're about to start a business or something where they're going to make a lot of money. That person is under the influence of a poison a whole lot more than somebody that's been with money for a long time and doesn't care about it anymore. And that's the kind of a person that I'm looking for. Somebody like Prince Charles. He sees the environment. Now I'm 65 years old. I know what it used to look like. I want nature to return. And I think we can return nature, but we can't if we don't survive. And we need to have a plan for how to survive. I mean, if you look at the population today and you compare it to the base, and you say that the base was the average population that humanity lived on the earth when we lived perfectly on the earth, when we didn't hurt the earth. And that was when we were hunter-gatherers. And anthropology says that the size of the population back then, when we lived for 300,000 years, was 10 million people or less. So we have 7.7 billion people today. If you compare that to the 10 million, that's a 770 to 1 ratio. That's what we're up against. We need a machine that shows us how to make manna. You ever heard of manna from heaven? That's the future our children are going to face. We have to design their future, not ours.
I gave you a link to a documentary came out on Channel 4 in the UK by George Monbiot. And I gave it to you because we were talking about hunting, but it has in it making food out of thin air. There's a new technology coming up, not vat grown meat from stem cells, growing food out of air.
Yeah, they make it comes out of algae. It's a process of turning algae into food.
Yeah, that's kind of
we're going to have to do that because we're going to have to supplement. I mean, if this climate change comes, which it's going to come, it's not, the breadbasket's going to be rendered, it's not going to produce much food. I mean, people are going to be forced to go vegetarian if they're going to survive. But we need to have a plan for how to survive. We need, and the people in the third world countries can tell us a whole lot more than we know. We don't grow up next to nature. We don't even know how to live off of nature. They know how to live off of nature, and they can tell us a whole lot more than we think they can tell us. And if humanity had a place to come where we could all come together, I mean, suddenly you're gonna hear their voice. We've never even heard their voice before because we're so much more powerful than them. If you did an average of the 20% owns 90% has 90% of the world's wealth, well, if we averaged that over the 20% and over the 80%, that means that each person in the 20% would have 36 times as much power as a person in the 80%. That's the difference. And they don't even get to vote. We dictate what they're going to do, or what how they're going to live, and now we're dictating how they're going to die. It's not fair.
One of the words you mentioned there is a key one, which is wealth, which doesn't equal money. I was a bit frustrated that the Ahimsa, the Aquarius group has existed all this time, and they haven't met. They haven't had one meeting. They haven't reported any of their findings yet. So I'm glad to hear that Sailesh is saying that there's something coming out of it. But the one thing that I did hear about it was that when they met for the Vegan World 2026 conference, their first order of business was, we have to define wealth. We're not going to start with cryptocurrency. Hey, we got all this cool technology. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to redefine wealth. We're going to discuss what is wealth. What is it here? What is it elsewhere? What can we learn from people who live without money, who live in situations where they get enough to survive and they're happy with it? And we've seen the studies that show that some people are happier than the richest people in the world just because they have this right attitude towards consumption and accumulation and interaction with humans rather than interactions with their accountant and their lawyers and their money-making machine. So I think that what comes out of that group will be great. It's unfortunately we haven't been able to participate with them, but we do have the New Economy group has just started up recently, so I'd recommend joining that one. Keith Akers is running that one.
When the collapse comes, let's say that your plan is ready with this New Economy. So how easy
comes, we're toast, aren't we?
No, I mean, not necessarily, not if we have a plan, not if we know how to make the man a machine. We know where to move, how to put people together. And there's a lot of things we can do, but by designing a future as a world without money, then we can't do by designing the future with a world with the money included in it. I mean, I've looked at this for a long time, and I've estimated, and there's a lot of waste built into our system of money. If we eliminate that waste, we can reduce our work hour week down to 15 hours a week and still have everything we need and want. Now, then we can, there's a whole lot of things we can do like that. We can have a volunteer workforce with 15 hours a week. If you was able to have everything you needed and, food and shelter, and that was your choice, but you lived in a world without money, so you had to give up your dream or whatever. I mean, who gets to have the dream? I mean, what good does it do to have a dream and fulfill your dream when it destroys the world?
Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go. I think you guys can keep hanging if you want to, even after I close my computer. Adam, would you do me a favor and text me one way or the other? Hey, Jamin, we got cut off, or hey, Jamin, we're still talking.
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Love you guys.
Thanks for letting
Great
us.
to see you guys.
Yeah. Same
See you
here,
guys
James.
soon.
Good night. Yes.
Have a good night. Great
Good night.
conversation.
Good night, you guys.
Thanks, you guys. See you
Good
guys
night.
soon.